Hello, good evening. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put those questions in the comments because I'm here to answer your questions. Now, today I have an interesting topic for you. It's going to be, what if you have a J1 visa? You have a J1 visa. That is subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement. And at the same time, you want to adjust status. You want to get to another status to be able to continue your stay in the United States. How can that go? Now, there are ways to get around that 2-year foreign residency requirement. But first, let me explain what that is. So when you're coming into the country on a J1 visa, some individuals, not all, and that's where you have to look at your visa, or you have to look at the special form that's issued to you by the Department of State to determine whether you're subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement and on what basis. But if you are, that means that after you're finished with your program, you will not be able to stay in the United States. You'd have to leave the United States, do 2 years outside of the United States before continuing with another type of status. Now, you will usually see this on your visa, subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement or subject to 212E. If you see that, then you're going to want to get legal advice, especially if you're in the situation where you are about to or you are married to a U.S. citizen or even a legal permanent resident, and you want to stay here for the process of applying for permanent residence. You don't want to wait for the 2 years and be separated from your spouse. Now, there's a common waiver here called the no objection letter. And with that, you would have to apply for it. So you'd have to apply for it. First, apply for what's called a no objection letter from your country, because the thing with the J1 visa is that it's a program that allows you to come to the United States either with the funding of your government, funding from the United States, or you're coming here to obtain specialized skill that your country recognizes that you need. Or they need. And so you are expected to go back to your country with these new skills to contribute to their development. And so the no objection letter is one way to get the waiver, because what you request from your country, that they issue a letter saying that they have no objection to you continuing to stay in the United States or to continue to work or live in the United States. But it has to be approved. How the process of the no objection letter works, whether your country even issues no objection letters, it's going to come down to the country and their policies regarding the no objection letter. I know, for example, Jamaica issues those no objection letters, but you have to formally request it. And you also have to submit a statement to the to the waiver division, basically laying out why you need this waiver. And then once you get the approved no objection letter, it then is sent to the waiver division, and that's where the waiver would be granted. So you could expect many months of processing before you can get that. So it's important that if you're looking into the future, you see that you are going to need, you are subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, and you are going to need to get this waiver. Get in touch. Now, what if that no objection letter is denied? Are there other ways? And it's going to come down to your particular circumstances and even the field that you're in. So, for example, if it's in the best interest of the United States, if you are being recruited by the government, and they are seeking your skills for their own advancement, these may be a way. Also, if you are a healthcare worker, you may be able to get this waiver. And then also, if you can prove that you will experience exceptional hardships if you don't get this waiver based on The exceptional hardships of, so let me rephrase that. Not you will experience, your U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, or child will experience exceptional hardships if you don't get this waiver. Now, exceptional means even more than the usual hardship. So if you have to face the inconveniences of being separated, and it means even more than extreme hardships, it has to be exceptional. So the bar is a lot higher here. So if you're in this situation, I just want to give you a heads up that that's the case. You will need to make sure that you look into this waiver, that you're able to bypass the 2-year foreign residency requirement through a waiver if you're subject to it. And always get legal advice before you go ahead and do anything, especially if you're on this type of J1 visa. Now, if you're not subject to the 2-year foreign residency requirement, you would definitely be in a better standing to change your status or adjust status without further issues. Now, Bree Cisney, can you talk about the EB3 skilled worker? So this is an employment-based category, and this category is not usually exempted from the labor certification unless they actually add you to as like a type of schedule. So for example, the Schedule A, where, for example, nurses are exempted from the labor certification just because right now they're facing a shortage of nurses, and so they can bypass that. An employer in this case has to be the one that's petitioning for you, and in the case where you're a skilled worker, you do have to show evidence that you're qualified for the particular field that you're working in. So one is you have to have the employer. The employer has to be 100% involved in your process. They have to be the one that petitions for you. They have to be the one that spearheads the labor certification process. That's a special process where they go to the Department of Labor, they submit additional documentation proving that they are not offering a job to an individual where there are maybe qualified U.S. persons who can work that job. So that's a whole other part, and the Department of Labor is responsible for that. But once that's approved, it takes anywhere from 6 months to 18 months to get that labor certification process completed. Once you go through that process, then the petition, along with the approved labor certification, if it's required, will be required to be filed with the USCIS. It's at that point that the petition would be approved, and it's either sent to the office, or if you qualify for adjustment of status, if you have current status and you are qualified in every way, you could stay in the US and apply for adjustment of status. So how quickly your process will go is going to depend on the country that you are from and whether there are immigrant visa numbers available at the time. So if you're an employer or you are an employee, you want to understand your rights, definitely call, schedule a consultation, and we can talk about that. What can I do if my N400 is taking over 2 years? So Casey, you can always check on your case. In the situation where you're outside of case processing times, 2 years seems to be a long time. I don't know what your situation is. Right now, my cases are taking anywhere from 2 months to 6 months. So with 2 years, for me, that would seem like a long time, but I don't know if there are special situations involved. I don't know if you need to provide more documentation. Have they requested documents that you haven't submitted yet? That's where you're gonna have to get a consultation to make sure that everything is in and everything is going okay in your case. You can also submit a case inquiry if you're outside of case processing times. All right, so my mom is a citizen and I overstay my visa. Can she put in for me? So Mohini Bajan, it's going to really depend. That's why I say get a schedule a consultation. If you've already overstayed, it's important for you to fully understand what you to expect in this process. Your mom, so your mom is a U.S. citizen, but whether you're going to be able to stay here and apply for permanent residence through your mom is going to depend on your age, your marital status, your immigration status. Obviously, you've overstayed, so that's telling me that you right now you may not be in status. And right now, if you're 21 or over without status here, then the process would take about 6 to 7 years. But at the same time, you're gonna have to go through a special process if it's through your mom called a waiver, an I-601 waiver process in order to still get the permanent residence. And it's not a quick solution just because it may take time. If you're under 21 and unmarried, then you may be in luck here, and that's where you should schedule a consultation. If you're under 21, unmarried, you may be able to adjust status here in the United States after overstaying your visa because you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. So schedule that consultation so you understand. You're in the middle of it right now. You want to make sure you're empowered with the knowledge to move forward in your process. Hi, you visa holder can apply for green card earlier than 3 years. So no, it has to be 3 years. So 3 out of the 4 years, and you have to be a U visa. So having a bona fide filing status is not going, or being on the deferred list for 3 years is not going to cut it. You must be a U visa or U status holder for 3 out of the 4 years. Bree Sisney, you're welcome. Okay. So Casey, 38397. So no, they said there's a problem. So Casey, if there's a problem, definitely at this point you need representation, especially if you're not understanding your problem. Get representation. This is your future. This is your citizenship application. You need to, you should not be going it alone. You can always call and schedule an appointment, and I can discuss your matter with you and then determine whether you qualify for representation. But at this point, if you've already checked and there's a problem, make sure you understand what that problem is and how to fix it. And I can help you with that. My fiance is a U.S. citizen, and we are getting a court marriage done in April. How long will it take with your fiance? So right now, once you adjust status, all being well and you qualify, that's where you want to make sure that you are not gambling on your own future and doing it on your own. So schedule a consultation so we can talk about your process and you can get representation. But you're looking at about 18 to 24 months for your process on average. Now, keep in mind, that's not down to a science. It's not down to a science. So, any timeline I give you is based on my experience, but it does not mean that's going to be the same for you. Remember that the information I'm giving you here is general information. It's not personal legal advice. So you should not be acting on anything here until you get a personalized legal advice, and I am here available to do that. You can call, schedule a consultation. You can go to the link in the profile. There's also my number on various videos. You can call that number and a scheduling coordinator will be in touch and to help you to schedule that appointment. If my case status says card was delivered to me by post office, what does that mean? I'm confused. It means that it was delivered. And so you need to check it to make sure it was delivered to the right address. How does it take for one to get an interview after being DQ'd for a minor? So you're looking at about 3 months to 12 months right now, just because everything is backed up. No problem with it. They said I have to wait. Okay. So Casey, if you're okay with waiting, then you can do that, but you can always get help or submit a case inquiry, or use tools available to see if you can get your case moved along. So me and my husband living in Jamaica together, and he's retiring next year and want to move back to the USA. And he wants to bring me and my son, which is a citizen, to live there. What's the procedure? So the procedure is he'll have to file a petition. He'll have to make sure that he establishes domicile in the United States first. So he cannot be living outside of the United States, and then unless he meets certain exceptions, like he's working for a qualifying US company, or he's in the military. But if he is just living in Jamaica and he wants to move back, a part of that process is he'll have to establish domicile here. And that could be just showing that he does have his link to the United States and he's able to support you here and live with you here in the United States. But he'll file a petition, and then you'll go through an approval process that involves submitting evidence and documentation to support why you can stay here. So this is what I do, Western Honey. I help my clients to get through this process smoothly. And so you can call, schedule a consult. I can represent you through the process. How long is the processing time for the I-130 form when married to a permanent resident? So you're looking at anywhere from 12 months to 18 months. And it also depends on the USCIS office that is processing your case. Let me remind you that I'm also on YouTube. So if you're watching, you have a question, don't hesitate to put that question in the comments. I am here every day, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to answer your questions. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments so that I can answer as soon as I see those questions coming in. All right. So let's see. How long is if I overstayed my visa but a company wants to sponsor me, is that possible? It may be, and that really comes down to your circumstances. So for instance, if you are being hired by a company and you have overstayed over 180 days, you'll need a waiver. That waiver could be an unlawful presence waiver based on the extreme hardship of a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, or parent. So that is one way that after overstaying, you still may be able to get it. And if you've overstayed but you haven't actually accrued unlawful presence and you haven't worked without permission, that still may be possible. So Luki, make sure you get legal advice because it's really complex and you want to make sure that you get the right legal advice based on your circumstances. If I get married to a U.S. citizen, can I stay there or work while my documents are being processed? There is a formal process of applying for the work permit while you're adjusting status. But if you get married and you're going through adjustment of status, you usually have to already be here. And you can't be entering the U.S. with a visa to adjust status. So that's important to know. But once you are qualified to adjust status here, once you're here, you've submitted documentation, there is a way to formally apply for that work permit. What card is being delivered? Is it the work permit? Kalipu 2003, I'm not your attorney. I haven't reviewed your documents. I wouldn't know what card that is. It may be your work permit. You only deal with persons in the USA. Gavin Ruplal, definitely not. I represent clients all over the world. If you have a US immigration issue, I can assist. We have been waiting 16 years for an appointment from NVC. All documents approved. How long for the appointment? It depends, Leela, on what category you're in. Some processes, so if you're applying through a sibling, some processes are taking anywhere from 14 years to 22 years, for example, in Mexico. So it's going to depend on the type of category and family member who's sponsoring you. And even employers, because immigrant visas are also taking a very long time. All right, so that is it. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for your questions. I'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time where you can continue to ask your questions and I will answer. Keep in mind that the information I'm giving you is general information. It is not personal legal advice. So you shouldn't be acting on this information until you get personalized legal advice. Tasha Mari, you're welcome. So go ahead and schedule an appointment. It is an investment in your own future, and that's where you're going to get the information you need to come up with a plan and get the right representation to move forward in your process. You shouldn't be gambling on your future. You should be investing in your future. So go ahead and schedule your appointment. So Gavin, go ahead, put your question. As long as I'm here, I will work on answering your question. So put it in quickly. Now, I'm not going to be finished. I'm actually heading on over to Instagram and Facebook. So on Instagram, I'm The Immigration Attorney, same as here on TikTok, same as YouTube. On Facebook, I'm ST Law Office, the name of the law firm. And so you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, and we can continue to have this conversation. You're free to meet me there and ask your questions. And I also release content on Instagram where you can get tips, you can learn, you can be entertained at the same time. So, and I release those videos throughout the day. So I hope to see you soon. In a minute on Instagram or Facebook, or I'll see you tomorrow right here at 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to go ahead and answer. Do you assist persons in other countries to apply for a visitor's visa? So it depends on the situation with the visitor's visa. Gavin Ruplal, if it's a complex issue with the visitor's visa, I do assist. However, if it is something where you're just submitting the visitor's visa directly to the embassy, I don't usually represent clients on that. And the reason being, it's usually a process where you have to show your strong ties to your home country. I can advise you, but I don't usually go through the full representation because that's usually an application that goes directly to the embassy and you'll attend an interview and along with your evidence. So I can advise, but I don't usually represent clients unless it's a complex issue where there's a waiver involved or something of that nature. My mother-in-law put in the sponsorship for us, Leela. Get legal advice to understand how you need to go about your process. It's going to come down to so many different factors. So important to understand what is waiting for you and how you should approach your situation. So thanks again for your questions. I'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So look out for me, follow me, go ahead and subscribe because I release videos throughout the day that can help you to understand your process and to understand your options. Have a good evening. I'll see you in a minute, or I'll speak with you in a consultation.